Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Velocity Kinetics. Apologies if I sound a bit nasally. I think I'm coming down with the blocked nose. It's because the weather's suddenly just gone from maybe too hot for this time of year to this now feels maybe too cold. But maybe it's too cold because it's been too warm. Who knows? But today I want to talk about an event I did recently. Not as in a Velocity Kinetics event, as much as that would be good. I apologise, the micro is about to go with my reheated shepherd's pie. I recently got the chance to utilise a voucher I was given when I left the part of the business that I used to work for. One of my good friends, well I hope she's my good friend, got me a track day experience through Virgin Experience Days. She got me a track day experience and I was able to finally use it. The reason why I hadn't done so is because of buying this house, because we didn't know when it was going to be, and so I go through and so on. Then getting that jiggling noises, my cat and his bell. But yeah, cats. So, but I finally got to use it because I thought the voucher was about to expire. I thought it was next year it expired. It actually expired, or expires it would have expired in about 3 weeks' time. So it's the 17th of October day. So I didn't have very long to use it. So I was able to book an event with Car Chase Heroes, and I was able to go to Wattisham Airfield near Ipswich, and I got to drive a couple of cars, which is all I could have paid for more, but I'm going to go through what the cars I drove were, what they felt like to me as a complete novice, never having driven cars of that calibre before, and what the actual overall experience of that track day with that company was like. Not paid, not promotional or anything like that, because there are some negatives. But shall we get on with it, shall we? So it's a bit later in the evening, oh, good grief, winding up to go to bed. I've not had anything to drink, I promise. Izzy! I think she's going to stay down there for the night. So, I'm going to try and talk through this as best as I can. It's hard not to go on like a wet towel, as I've been told before. I'll try and break the video down into a few sections. So, there'll be what the cars were like that I drove. So I drove a Porsche Cayman, and I drove a 1975 Aston Martin Vantage, because an Aston is always a good choice. The event itself, value for money, I acknowledge that I was lucky and I got it on a gift token, so I didn't need to pay as much, but it still cost. Would I do it again, and so on. But I will say, I've got some of the video from the day, some of the onboard footage. I must say, it felt an awful lot faster than the footage looks. And I've realised, glaringly obvious, that there's a chicane that I've taken quite slowly, particularly in the Porsche. I could have done that pegged wide open with that Porsche, but there we are. But I would say, for experience, the video with the Aston Martin years ago, where I was the passenger in a V8 Vantage, that was still an amazing experience, but I'd have to say that has probably been toppled. It just has. There's no other way to put it. But it was always, I suppose, going to be toppled once I got into the driving seat. Even if I was allowed to drive that same Aston, being a passenger would have stopped being fun, and being the driver would have been better. But there we are. And naturally, when I'm talking through the cars, what I thought and felt of them, I haven't got a great CV of cars to compare against, and things I've driven, because I've owned 4 Suzukis, driven 7 different types actually. And while Suzuki's, particularly the Swifts and the Balenos, were very good drivers for what they are, they're not even in the same league. And I've not driven anything sports carish. I think even if I sat and went through all the specifications in terms of horsepower, I think the Swace is the most powerful in terms of torque, and I think, actually no, it's not the most powerful. Annoyingly, it's a Ford Fiesta's the most powerful thing I've driven with 125 PS. But I think the Swace might outdo it in terms of torque with its hybrid. But there we are. Anyway, so when I'm talking through my experience of driving the cars, if I sound a bit like I'm going off on a superlatives binge, it's because I've not got anything to compare it to. But there we are. But still, moving on. I was waiting to be admitted into a meeting at work, although today I'm starting to wonder why on earth my job role exists within the company. Not that I don't want my job, far from it, just sort of so far today I have done about an hour's worth of work, and I've been at work for 4 hours, which is fantastic in the sense of getting paid a lot for doing nothing, but if they don't validate my role, then I'll be asked, they'll find a way to get rid of it, which they've got rid of other roles relatively recently. Anyway, on to something more pleasant. Talk about driving the Aston Vantage. So it was a 1975 model. It was a big V8 in it, which is comfortably the biggest engine I've ever driven, because everything I've driven has either been 3 or 4 cylinder motors. It was running very rich, or there was an exhaust leak, I'm not sure which, but there was a definite smell. If you spent too long in that car, you might come out feeling a little high afterwards. It was an automatic. The steering on it, because the way it was parked, we had to get it out. The steering on it was dead at low speed. I've heard people talk about, I think it was the Ferrari F40, people have talked about that at slow speeds it's just useless. It's so heavy, no power assisted steering. So it's just, you've really got to work hard to get it to do something at slow speed. Even the brakes were extremely vague. The pedals were awkward. I'm just going to insert a clip here of what I had to do with the pedals. If I may use my slightly messy coffee table to show you what I mean with the Aston. Actually, no, I won't even need my coffee table. Depending on how you sit in your car, you'll probably use your foot in that sort of motion for, accelerator, brake, and then clutch with your left, assuming you have a clutch. In the Aston, it was so very weird, because I tried to make that sort of motion, and it just wouldn't work. I sort of almost had to make this sort of gesture with my foot to feel like the pedals were working. It might have been because it was an old car. It might have been because it was a 75 Aston and apparently still very original. But it made driving that a bit hard. It was a very fun car to drive. It was an automatic, so I've, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on perspective, because I'm driving an automatic. Normally I didn't have to suddenly remember to clutch, but maybe they pick vehicles that are automatic more often than not because they don't have to worry about replacing clutches with people not knowing how to clutch in or clutch out very well, or being a bit too heavy. But anyway, it was a lovely car to drive. I did also find a little disturbing. Maybe, I don't know if it's just because the car itself is getting on in age now, or if it's it doesn't matter if it was brand new or old. It was just a shut line problem. The bonnet was jiggling as it was idling. I found that very, very distracting. It was a very weird car to drive, because at slow speeds, the steering, you needed to work hard. The brakes were a lot of travel on the pedal before anything happened. But then when the car was actually at speed, everything sort of came alive. Really, it was such a different experience when it was finally up and running. The person that had sat in the passenger seat, he was really, really helpful, compared to the guy in the Cayman. Not that the guy in the Cayman wasn't a nice man at all, just this other guy was a lot more helpful. Helped me improve my line through a chicane, and told me that I can keep flat on with it, can still go flat out through that chicane, if they've got the line right, which I did, and it's extremely good. Would I want to drive that car again? No, I don't think I would. Or at least if I was to drive it again, I'd rather drive either a restored or a resto-modded version, or at least one that's in a better nick. So I would drive another one in better condition but not that particular Aston again. Glorious noise on it though, especially that burble of the V8. Oh, meeting's been cancelled. Really? I get that meetings get cancelled at short notice. I get that events happen that make it, it's wrong to say pointless, but I get events happen that are beyond everyone's control. But cancelling the meeting 2 minutes after it's actually started, or meant to have started, I'm one of these people who doesn't actually join the meeting on Teams until I see a pop-up that says it started, but there we are. Oh well. Got a few more minutes free.
You can make it, you can make it. There we go.
Believe you.
And let it straighten. There you go, perfect. And we're heading straight. We've escaped. Excellent.
It's one of those cars, it's like, it doesn't...
You got to work out.
It doesn't do well at slow speed.
Yeah. Everyone back in that day must have been hench. You know what I mean?
It makes, when you read things like Sir Jackie Stewart's autobiography, it makes sense when you understand how he talks about how he drove.
Yeah.
Oh, speedo's broken.
Yeah, it is. Don't worry about any of those.
Oh, it's going to get high by the end of this, getting the smell of petrol.
Right. So smooth into the left. Yeah. And on the power.
Yeah.
Hold it to the right for a minute.
Right.
Yeah, go. All the way to the chicane on the power. You don't need to brake for this, yeah?
You know.
No, keep going.
Right.
Smooth on the steering, let's go. And keep it to the right, yeah?
Right.
There you go. And we're taking the right lane as well.
Right.
Yeah. Turning in, yeah. On the power. Keep going. Keep going on the power. Smooth on the brakes. There you go. And on the power. Come to the left.
Left, please.
Yeah. Smooth on the brakes. Into the left. A bit more. And on the power, go.
Really on my tiptoes with it almost,
Yeah. And on the brakes, turn it left. Yeah. Go. Don't need to brake, just go straight through.
Yep.
So after the chicane, we're going to stay on the right, yeah?
Stay on the right, okay.
Keep to the left.
Left.
Yeah. Or left lane. I mean, right lane, sorry, right lane. My bad. Go. On the power, yeah? Keep going on the power more. Move on the brakes. There you go.
Driving ballerina shoes on. Well, it needs a hammer and ballerina shoes all at once. Left again.
Yeah. We're going for one more. Move on to the brakes. Yeah, into the left. A bit more. And on the power. Go.
That's the one I drove a few minutes ago. So what about the Porsche then? Oh, sorry, if you hear a lot of meowing, my little cat Izzy is wanting a lot of attention this morning. I can't work out what's got into her, unless she's just finally warmed up. So what about the Porsche then? So I drove the Cayman first, although I think in the edit I've done it the other way around, so showing me driving the Aston first. The Cayman, it wasn't the car I was supposed to drive. It was meant to be a 911 I'd gone to drive, but a flat six Porsche is a flat six Porsche, and it's still comfortably more cylinders and more displacement, more power, however measure you want to use it. It's still comfortably at that point the biggest and fastest, most powerful car I'd have ever driven. So I'd have been happy with the Boxster. It was one with the PDK, the paddle shift. I used the paddle gearbox. They gave me the option to just use it in automatic, and I thought, now if there's paddles, I'd like to use the paddles. I gave it full beans out of the pit area, the boarding area, whatever you want to call it. The footage, I think as I've said somewhere else in this video, it's a bit disappointing as it looks a lot slower, and to me it felt so much faster, but the speedo was not keeping up. As in, I know what 40 miles an hour feels like, and I even though the speedo was saying you're doing 40, like that is not 40 miles an hour. It's a lot faster. It was the seat was quite comfortable actually as well. I'd be quite happy with a Cayman if I ever got into a position to own one, but at the rate shit is going, that's not going to happen. But there we are. Lovely feel through the steering wheel, lovely feel on the brake pedal. It did take me a minute or two to get positioned comfortably with it. I couldn't spend forever getting myself in the right position, because it was a bit alarming driving around, not even with mirrors in a position I could see the back end of the car as comfortably as I'd have liked to. But if everyone spent all that time doing it, then potentially you'd easily spend 5 minutes getting ready for the drive, and then, you know, you wouldn't be half as ready half the time. It was a, let's say, comfortable sitting position, lovely feel through the steering wheel. Could have been better, as in, it could have been a better feeling, not as in, oh, it could have been a better car. Could have been better feeling if the track was bigger. I could have exploited more of its ability more. I could have felt more of what it could have done. It would have been nice to have exploited it to its full capacity, because I know it could have gone a lot faster. It could have stopped. We could have explored its brakes a lot more. The chicane, having driven the Aston afterwards, I realised I could have gone so much quicker through the chicane. I didn't need to gear down, but I also like the sound of it gearing down. I understand why people say the Flat 6 is one of the best sounding engines in the world. For me, it's not, but it's a very intoxicating noise. It's very up there. Engine sound, it's very, very up there. I'd never driven anything with a flat engine. I nearly test drove a Subaru years ago, and that would have been the closest I'd have gotten to driving something with a flat engine, but circumstances meant that it never came to fruition. They were very nice, because they obviously, as I said, I'd booked to drive a 911. When I got there, they told me up front that actually no, it's not available. It was pushed to the side. I think there's a fuel pump problem where for some reason it couldn't pump the fuel through, and it was being drained when I got in the Cayman. It was nice of them to offer a different car. I could have had any number of different cars, including things like the Fast and the Furious car, the Police Interceptor, BMW 5 Series. I was very tempted by that, but I've been driven in the front seat in uniform by a properly trained traffic cop with Cleveland Police years ago, and that was an experience in itself. It was a fantastic car. I wish I'd had another thing to compare it to, because my car driving history is not a good one, as in just not it. It's all full of utilitarian super minis, and Swace is the biggest car I've ever driven. I feel like I've sort of missed several steps in the middle. If I was driving around in like a sporty Volvo decent 3 Series, even a VRS sort of Skoda, or at least something that's approaching a VRS, that I probably would have gotten more out of that track day. But still a fantastic experience. The man who was helping me around the track, he could have been a little bit more helpful compared to the guy with the Aston, but when I got to him, he thought he had finished for the day. He thought he'd done with his excursions, or at least done with the Porsche. So I was a lot late last minute. So I can appreciate it from his perspective. You know, when you've switched off thinking you're all done, suddenly it's really hard to switch yourself back on. But really good. Bit concerning that he'd forgot to put the car in park, so it started rolling away as I was walking up to it. Brilliant experience in that car. Would happily drive one again. Does make me want to drive a full fat 911 though, and by full fat I mean as in just a flat 6 in a 911. I'd love to drive a turbo or a GT3 RS, but I'll take what Porsche I can get. That, and it was, I think somewhere in the video I've warned about running out of superlatives. I haven't got any because I don't know what words to use. It was just amazing. Simple as.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have one of these for real.
Just let me see your password.
Yep.
Yeah, you can go now.
I get so many speeding tickets.
Yeah, when I Cayman for a week, I got sent me as well, so that should say. Because especially with paddle shift, it like makes you want to go fast.
Yes.
So you do go fast.
Yeah. It's not that just that. I always thought some of these cars, quite a lot of people who turn up being a fan of Top Gear and things, I always thought they made the sound better than TV.
Yeah.
It's like when you finally get into it, it's like, no, they are not.
Yeah, they actually just
Inside or outside?
Outside.
Outside.
Yeah. We only really go inside if we're overtaking someone, basically.
Right.
Or if like you're on a line and the only choice is to go inside, or else like you're in a go or something.
Yeah. Left or straight? Or
Yeah.
Straight to left.
So it's keep going, like do the chicane.
Ah, right.
And then at the end of the straight,
yeah.
Left lane. Yeah, you have to press it once.
Yeah.
Like it takes a while to shift.
Yeah.
Just so that people don't stress about like passing us or something. Yeah, that's fine.
Very throttle at times.
It's sensitive in first gear.
Yes.
In first and second gear, it's very sensitive.
Yes. Do you want to tuck behind the 911 or have you got anyone else that's coming in?
No, I think that's because it's broken. Just park it
Next
to the battlefield.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just getting fuel. That's all this. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, just push that way first.
What?
So you can do that.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Sense that makes.
Okay.
So what about the experience of the event itself? Well, I chose to go to the one near Ipswich, so that was at Wattisham Airfield. To be honest, I would have preferred it to have been at a proper track. Or if it was an airfield, I would have liked it to have been somewhere where you could have actually got the cars up to decent speed. I know some would say, well, you could get them up to decent speed, and it's like, yes, maybe, but if you're a pro driver, you could get them up to a damn good speed around there. But if you're not a pro, you would like you'd like a stretch or a decent curve, a shallow curve where you could just keep accelerating and get into the hundreds, maybe even over 120, especially with things like the McLaren, the Lamborghini, Audi R8 V10 that they had there. You'd like to be able to get them to go a lot quicker. For my particular event, Wattisham is a little bit in the middle of nowhere, so I've had to drive down all sorts of roads I'd never been down before, and some of them single track, some of them barely wide enough. So from my experience, I was a little more sort of by the time I got there, but that was just the getting there part. Sort of once you got there, could have done with being better signposted, but then again, they did give you a 3 words address, which if you then convert that into a Google GPS position, you can still get there. Not a problem. Parking, not bad. Event was very clear. It could have done with being marked out a lot clearer, as in where to go when you get there. You had to pay an insurance waiver, so you could choose not to pay the insurance waiver, but if you did something to that car, I believe if I remember the small print correctly, I think the excess you would have to pay is about £5,000, which, yeah, I don't exactly have that lying around, and if I did have £5,000 lying around, I've got more important things that need to be paid off with it. So you had to pay 29 quid, which, I mean, for me it wasn't too bad because the event itself was a gift, so I wasn't out the price of the event to begin with. Then we were asked if we want to do things like go around in they call it the pilot car. It's a car driven by a pro driver where you can be 2 or 3 people up. There's either an MX-5 or they had a 3 Series BMW available to do that. That would have been another £10, if I remember rightly, per person. So potentially, if you wanted to do that, you're already out nearly £40, and you haven't even driven a car as of yet. And then you're asked if you want to do extra laps, and then I can't remember the exact breakdown of it, but there was a lot where you could have paid up to like 25 quid to I think it was up to 10 laps. I think it was something like that, which I did consider doing, but money's not been my friend recently, as in whenever I do seem to get a little bit spare, something comes up, and it's not a case of, it happens every once in a while. It seems to be every fucking time at the moment, and without resorting to put it on a credit card, which I don't want to if I can avoid it. If I had a bit of spare cash, I probably would have paid a bit more. The queuing system, it was not very good, as in once you got your pass, because you had to show who you were as the driver, then it had inside it the memory card as well, which you needed if you wanted to record the footage, like I've inserted somewhere in this video. If you're a little hard of hearing because they're using a PA system, it was not always the easiest things to pay attention to, especially if you're someone like me who loves cars and watching them and seeing them. You could easily spend your time watching the so I'm just giving the Teams wiggle to make it look like I'm still doing stuff. You could easily not hear your name if you're too engrossed in the cars that are there. Given the circumstances that they were dealt, I imagine they would prefer to keep it kind of marqueed, or they would prefer to have a building to do it in, and then you go out of the building to do your drive. It was not easy for people to watch or record stuff, because Sarah tried to do stuff for me, as in she make more of a record of the event, because I didn't know what I was going to get. That was quite hard to do. The instructors themselves, as I've alluded to in the bits, they were quite good. The guy in the Porsche he thought he was done for the day, so I can appreciate he would have been better if he knew he had more people. Not the end of the world. He was a very nice guy. Guy in the Aston, like I said, very helpful, very nice man as well. They are pros, so they do keep an eye out for each other where they can. I was meant to have driven a 911, that's as covered, driven a Cayman instead. Still very nice car. I said to them, Porsche's a Porsche for me, which I know as a petrolhead that seems a bit of a, excuse me, a car that was referred to years ago as the Cockster, as in it's even more evident that your life didn't pan out how it was meant to, that you've got a Cayman instead of a 911. Yeah, I can agree to that sentiment. But for me, it's a case of the way things are going for me, I'm never even going to be able to afford a Porsche. So, barring YouTube for Velocity Kinetics suddenly going insane and being able to reap in some of that sweet YouTube ad revenue, if it's still as good as it used to be, I'm never going to be able to drive one. So a Cayman, I'd have been happy with a Boxster. They didn't have a Boxster, but I would have been happy just driving a Porsche Boxster that day. Because for me, it's about the badge I've got to drive. Likewise, if it wouldn't have mattered to me if I'm just picking model numbers out of thin air here, but if they had a Ferrari, then they had I could have driven a 355, a 360, or a 430, or the 458, the 488, so on and so forth. It wouldn't have mattered which one of those it was I drove, because I got to drive a Ferrari. And I know Porsches are a lot more accessible in terms of cost than Ferraris, Astons, Lambos, and so on. But I still get to say I drove a Porsche on a track. So did my laps, got called up. Now, if I'd bought the ticket, the 3 laps, 6 minutes, or whatever it is, it was not good value for money. If I'd bought the ticket myself, because it was a gift, fantastic, really good value in my opinion on that. But that said, those cars cost a lot of money to maintain, especially if they're part of a fleet. If they've been donated to the event, or if someone's borrowed them for the event, they've got to pay the costs to cover the insurance. So yeah, I understand it being quite expensive. Now it was a Virgin gift experience, which initially I'd had problems booking that, and I had to resort to going onto Twitter and messaging Virgin Experiences directly, which they very promptly sorted me out a new voucher code. I'd had read online that a lot of people have problems with the Virgin codes, where they don't always work as they're supposed to, which it seems a pain in the arse, especially for something that you're spending so much money on. But customer service was very good, although I know this might sound a bit boomer of me, but there are times where I would prefer just to pick up the phone to someone and know it's been solved, rather than messaging someone who knows where to get stuff sorted. But in the end, it was sorted. I got to go. Not the end of the world for me. So after I did my laps, I could have chosen to pay more and driven more cars. Again, it's all about paying more. If you've I suppose these events are not very well tailored to those who either haven't got a credit card that they can just go, yep, just put that on, put that on, put that on, put that on, or people who've got a lot of disposable income and can just go, yeah, going to do that. Or even if you're fortunate enough to be able to save, because obviously with the cost of living at the moment, half the battle is actually being able to save. And yes, you might use things like TSB's Save the Pennies, or an external thing like money boxes, equivalent of Save the Pennies, although I think they call them roundups. There's only so much you can save, unless you're deliberately saving for something, deliberately saving to go do that sort of thing. So 25 quid there, 10 quid there, 5 quid there, suddenly you could blow through £100 and not have very much more in the experience to show for it. Aside from the memories, which when they eventually develop the technology that, I mean, it'll probably never be developed, but if in something sci-fi becomes realistic, if they ever develop a machine where you can download your dreams and people can experience the same feelings that you had as well, then, you'll always have that. You will always have the memory of driving whatever you chose to drive. Then there was a final package that I paid for. Now, as I said, you got given a pass and a pouch to go around, and you had a memory card in there which they could record. Like I said, I've put the videos in. Now, there was I think it was an £80 penalty if you didn't turn that back in when you left, which was a bit harsh, but I understand it. It's not easy to obtain that stuff. But even things like the memory cards actually branded Car Chase Heroes, so that all takes time. They've paid someone, even if it's pennies on the pound, they've paid someone somewhere to do that. So I understand that that's all time and things, and also on those memory cards, I've actually got some proprietary software, which someone's had to develop, and it's really for basic video editing, as in exporting and choosing your outputs and things. It's actually pretty good. But you could choose to have everything on your memory card. So as in, they would give you the videos, and because I had track photographers as well, they'd give you the photos. Now the problem for me, got the pictures of me driving the Aston, not the Aston, sorry, the Porsche, fantastic. They give me the pictures of someone else driving the Aston. I appreciate they've got a lot of high pressure to try and get that stuff found. They're relying on the local Wi-Fi or whatever signal they're able to generate themselves to make it all work, and also reliant on the camera itself doing the photography, actually transmitting the pictures properly. I get that. I don't disagree with that. But I think they could have done with a few more people, so it could have taken it a little bit more easily. So there was more time to look through all those pictures. So I haven't got, aside from Sarah taking the odd picture of me trying to get into the Aston, I haven't actually got a picture of me officially in the Aston. Got the video, but no pictures of me on track with it, which would have been nice to have. It's one of those things for the company I work for, that would have been classed as a data breach, because I've got someone else's likeness. Got that, then that was another £50 for the pictures and the video. Now you could have one or the other, you could have neither, you could just hand your memory card and go, not bothered, going home. As long as they got the card back, that was the important bit. The £50, like I said, a little excessive, but like I said, it's got some basic video editing software, as in the videos I've stuck into this, where I've gone, I think it's called picture in picture, where I've got no, it's not picture in picture, it's side by side, and for both of them, where I've got the outward view and the cockpit view, I could choose to do picture in picture, one the other, or what I have done, export it individually in big HD, you name it. It's got a few options in there, and the video quality isn't too bad for a freebie rendering. And it's got the, as you've seen, they've burned the picture of the car on it, and I think it's even got the burning of Car Chase Heroes on. So it's not bad. Not bad at all. But a tiny bit excessive. I'd say I'd highly recommend doing this, and I would love to do this again. I got a feeling Sarah might have got me this for got me it for Christmas, I suspect, because she kept asking, would I want to do it again? Or maybe it's something she's planning for my birthday. I don't know. Would I want to do it again? Yes. The costs involved, however, are a little off-putting for how much it's going to potentially be. I'm not too fond of all the extra costs here, there, and everywhere for it. At the same time, though, I know some people. But at the same time, though, it is a small price to pay. I suppose ultimately, whether you've bought it as a gift for someone, whether you've booked it specifically for yourself, or whether you're just fortunate enough to just not even just buy it as a gift for yourself, as if you're fortunate enough just going to go, well, I do that every couple of months sort of thing. It's where it's not a gift, it's routine, so to speak. If that's your, it's a fantastic experience, especially if you're worried about having a bit of a heavy right foot. You can get it out of your system, get it on the track. You can also join the elite club of people who can say, I've driven a Porsche on track, I've driven a McLaren on track, I've driven an Aston Martin, I've driven, and you also have that thing to say, I've done it on track. The extra costs involved, the insurance thing makes sense. That's £29, that's well spent. The extra laps, the problem is you're guessing whether you'd like the car or not. I think I got lucky with the ones I picked. I could have driven that Cayman for hours and hours. I loved it. But the 911 I was supposed to drive, I might have got into that if I'd gone, yeah, and I'll pay for 10 extra to do 10 laps. I could have got into it and hated the experience. That, I suppose, is maybe the biggest gamble, because you've got to choose ahead of time what you want to drive. The photos, good quality pictures, very professional. Not the way I received mine. There were people who received discounts because there were faults with the video and things. The whole setup is really good in the sense of, getting the photos, getting your video, and so on. The cost for that is a little much. The lots of the hidden costs are a little much. So, as I said, overall, do it again. Lots of lots of advertised extra costs that may be off-putting if you can't do it. Ultimately, though, my only criticism is your drive time is too short. I think they would create overall a better experience if something like 5 laps was the default and have fewer people. So they do the 3 laps because that's probably, they've calculated that's how many people they can get in and out nice and quick and do a rapid turnaround. But I think for that money you should do 5 laps. They should have fewer people through the door, but whatever they're charging, they could maybe charge £3-4 extra. They'd easily make the money back. But as the event stands, fantastic. Hopefully I get to do it again one day. And I've now been given the hurry up to get some work done. So, look after yourselves, drive safe. I will see you next time, whenever that is.